Datachecker actually started as an idea that was brought to us by a fellow whose name I'm trying to remember. It was either Hackman or Jackman.
David Hackman.
David Hackman, right.
Well
Dave
documented
Hackman.
in supermarket
Right,
news in those
Dave
days.
Hackman. He was representing, at the time, I don't know, I assume you've covered some of this historical stuff of how the U.P.C. started.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, you've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there was this group called the Supermarket Institute, SMI, and they were working on this U.P.C. thing. Dave Hackman represented a group in Los Angeles called Certified Grocers,
Mm-hmm.
which was a co-op of lots of small guys. And he wanted to convince that group that they should get into supermarket checkout systems. Scanning was not really cooking at the time. It was pretty much, he came up and gave us a pitch on electronic checkout systems as contrasted to scanning checkout systems at the time. He gave it, I was not part of this pitch, he gave it to a couple other guys at Nationals, to Charlie Spork. Charlie called me up. We talked about it as a possible new division. He was interested in doing something. Charlie always had this feeling that he wanted to vertically integrate and use more semiconductors. Which I'm not sure I agreed with as a good motivation, but as a business, I thought it might be a good business, independent of the usage of semiconductors. He said, I'd like to go into this business, will you run it for me? Basically is what it came down to. After thinking about it, of course, I said yes. And we started putting together a team. I think personally we put probably together the best team that I've ever seen in one place in this business.
Can you remember some of the names of people?
Well, I plucked our marketing and sales guy from the semiconductor group, a guy by the name of Tom Anthony.
Okay.
Dave Masters was head of our hardware engineering, Chuck Runge, head of our software engineering. They came from a company called Tenon, which was a mainframe, small mainframe company that had been not doing well. In fact, I can't remember whether they were actually bankrupt at the time that we hired Dave and Chuck. But they were sort of founders of that, along with a fellow by the name of Tom Bay, who used to be a very good friend of Charlie's, which is how Charlie found out about these two guys and referred them to me.
Okay.
Okay. So those were my core guys. I hired a manufacturing guy that I had working for me at one point up at the diode plant in San Rafael when I was still in semiconductors. And off we were. We worked very hard. This was at the very beginning. This was